Right, so it's ready to chuck the top coat on. It's all dry, took off any kind of little high spots, but as you can see, majority of it's not sanded. It's ready to go. I'm going to apply again with a roller paintbrush. I'm going to do 2 coats in areas where I don't want any rust, so like your lower bits, and I might end up fading out in certain areas just to try and kind of make the patina process a bit easier when I come to sand it. But yeah, basically you do everything in reverse, so where you want the rust, you don't want the top coat, etc. So I'm just going to mask up and I'm going to carry on rolling. Right, so the top coat's been left overnight to dry. It's 2 layers of the blue over the top of the Rustypaint. Probably here, it's due a good sanding. Some areas are faded out. These are going a different colour, as well as we're going to put some, potentially a stripe down the side and some weathered sign writing. However, before I get onto that, I'm going to show you how to clean glass very easily without scratching it. Right, so the first thing you want is a good standing blade. It needs to be brand new. Don't use a used one because there is potential to scratch the glass. As you can hear and see, there's paint all over it, and that was mainly due to me rushing yesterday and masking. Ideally I would have masked the whole window off, but I thought it was going to rain, which it did. So I was trying to cut corners, so obviously I've got a bit of over like spray as such, even though it's off the roller. So what you want to do is hold the blade against the glass like that at an angle, and don't push forwards, push back and then forwards very lightly on the glass, and you'll hear that noise, which is basically it removing any dry bits of paint. Now you can use this on household glass, any kind of glass you've got paint on, and you'll know once it's removed what it needs to remove because it goes silent, as you can hear. Right, so the glass is clean, we've done that. It's on to kind of sanding down the blue paint to expose the Rustypaint where I need it, and also preparation for the stripe that we're going to be putting on the vehicle, and also the sign writing. Now I'll go into how to apply the sign writing later, but I'm going to explain kind of the things I use. So I've got 2 grades of sandpaper, which is what I've always said. Again, obviously the can instructions say a much safer way of sanding it, so they'll tell you different grades. However, the trade weight and the way I do it is again 120 and 320. You can obviously use DA like I'm using, which is this here. You can use a small sander, or hand sand it. A lot of customers hand sand it. Obviously hand sanding with 120 is not going to take long at all. So the reason for the two different grits is quite simply because I'm going to be putting a stripe down and also some sign writing on the door. I want to get back down really to the rusty paint, so I'm going to use a more harsh kind of 120 to break through that. And then hopefully, as you can see, I've had a quick go with a 320 up here, which gives you the kind of just a very light breakthrough of the paint. So basically it's just took the kind of roughness off of the blue, which is obviously exposed to rusty paint underneath. So that'll give you a subtle rust through. So that's one of the techniques, is to kind of leave a lot of the colour, but just obviously just kind of knock the top of it off. So that's kind of how the rest of the car is going to be, like this bit. But obviously the areas I'm going to be painting over the top of with a different colour, I'm going to go down with a 120. The other thing to have, you definitely need these, is Scotch-Brite pads. They're not very expensive, but they allow you to kind of sand into all the nooks and crannies you're not going to get into with the DA. So stuff like the tops of the doors, little areas. I'm not personally, because I'll leave the colour in because it looks more natural, but if there's any areas you do want to rust in there, obviously you'll get that in, whereas it's a lot harder with sandpaper or DA. Also, these are crucial really for the activation stage. So I'm going to DA it now where it needs to be, and then we'll get to the next stage. I'll show you what's next. Right, so we're at a stage where realistically the car's ready for stencils if you're going down that route. Now the videos are going to change from here now, because obviously I'm going to be adding some stencils, paint, maybe doing some different effects, because people want to know how Rustypaint goes over the top of a normal colour. So I'm going to do that on the roof. I'm also going to show how to apply it in patches, because that's another way people paint. So I'm going to do some kind of patches over the top here and there. So it's a bit of a mix up for the whole lot, but for a normal patina paint job you would obviously work out where you want the rust. So you would sand where you want the rust, and then get onto the activation stage, which will be a separate video linked from this one. But yeah, I'm ready. In an ideal world it would just be putting stencils on and then activating. However, I've got to show a few different techniques for different videos. So any questions, just drop them below the video. I'll do my best to help.